Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope your gaming day has been pretty fun so far. I so far have a game of Machikoro Legacy under my belt with my daughter and wife, and it's a good start to a Sunday. I saw a thread today that was about... It was specifically about Barbarian the Invasion. This is a game that I have not played. I have not played this game yet. I hope to get to the table soon. It actually just joined my collection maybe 2 weeks ago in a recent shipment. So I saw it looked interesting, looked very intriguing, and I wanted to get to the table. And I saw a thread today that was complaining because the newest Kickstarter came out, and the newest Kickstarter had an option which was literally just an upgrade pack. It was roughly $40, I think, maybe a little less, but plus shipping. It was not a $5 upgrade pack. And all it was updated components, updated board, updated box, updated inserts, updated rules. It was just to improve your first edition. And the thread was complaining because the backers of the previous Kickstarter didn't feel they should pay that. They didn't feel that they should pay that fee because they were getting an improvement to their game. They had bought into version 1.0, and they felt that they should get version 2.0 for free because they had backed it. They had invested. They had brought this thing to life, and now people who hadn't done that were being rewarded. Now, this particular video was inspired by that thread, but this is something I've seen time and time again. This is something I've seen over the years whenever a Kickstarter launches something new. When Gloomhaven came out with the second edition, Isaac put out a great thread balancing the aspect of saying, here are the tweaks we're doing, and also at the same time, like, understand you guys clearly love Gloomhaven without these tweaks, so hopefully you don't feel that you've been cheated out of something. He was very diplomatic. I thought he brought it to the table very well. But whenever a game comes out, whether it's Kickstarter or retail, however they do it, whenever a game comes out with a newer version, newer tweaks, some sort of upgrade, whether components, rules, cards, any of these things, there tends to be a bit of a divide between the people who understand what... No, I shouldn't say understand. Understand is already a judgment of my own. Between people who feel those upgrades and changes and benefits should be granted for free to the original crowd, or the people who feel that they are completely reasonable reasons to charge for those upgrades or to release a second edition. I understand both viewpoints. Really, I do. I am obviously a gamer, but I'm also a business owner. I very much understand both viewpoints. I have been on the mental thought process of both viewpoints. But for reasons that go past understanding both sides of the conversation, I think everyone has to understand that there is a business on the other side. And that the reason I bring that up is because while I understand and can argue each point, only one point leads to the sustainability of a business and getting those things. So let's take this one step at a time. So to start with, and I'll bring up, this is not my own comparison, this is something that I've seen other people bring up. For some reason, we don't see these complaints in technology. You don't see iPhone 2 users demanding that they should get the iPhone 2 for free because they bought iPhone 1, they made the product what it is, and now all these people who didn't buy in are get the benefit that they didn't get. You don't see this in technology because, to a certain extent, we have an acceptance that technology comes with iterations. Technology comes with improvements and advancements over time, and we have this term, early adopter, that applies to technology. Yet in board games, we don't feel that the term early adopter applies. And when I say we, I mean the people who complain about these upgrades. They don't feel that there's such a concept as early adopter. They feel that they brought this product to life. I invested in Barbarian's Invasion. Without my help, Barbarian's Invasion wouldn't be anything. And now it's not. Now I'm getting punished because I invested. I should have just waited. I shouldn't have backed the first Kickstarter. I should have walked away. And as a side point, and again, I say this next thing as somebody who has a lot of unplayed games on his shelf, I think that viewpoint is only going to be further exasperated if you haven't even played the game. If you backed Barbarians the Invasion, and you got it, you looked it, you unboxed it, you read the rules, and it hasn't gotten to the table yet, and a year and a half later Kickstarter 2 comes out, that viewpoint is going to be so much further reminded because you didn't benefit in the meantime. At this point, you've bought into a collector's item that hasn't done anything for you, and now the better version's out, which is not something that any iPhone user would ever do. And I think that the viewpoint, while I think people will have the viewpoint either way, I think it's going to be further exacerbated the less often you've enjoyed that item. Let's take Kemet, for example. Kemet is another game that they just announced a complete rehauling of the rules. They're going to be coming out with Kickstarter, all new components, all new rules. I don't know what they're doing yet. I don't know whether I'm going to want to get it. But what I can tell you without a doubt is I have played Kemet to death. I have played, that's probably a stretch, but I've played Kemet a lot. When I look at the games in my collection that I've seen play time and time and time again over the past 8 years, Kemet is up there. Kemet, from the first time I played it, I love this game. It has seen play a few times a year, every single year. When we first got this off, far more than a few times a year. But it has managed to hold on totally fine. Of course I want Kemet 1.5 for free. Of course I do. Because why wouldn't I? But I don't think I've earned it. Kemet has done so much for my collection. Kemet has brought so many hours of game time that just like the iPhone 1 versus the iPhone 2, I understand and acknowledge that, okay, I got the iPhone 1, and now I have to make a decision as a consumer whether I care enough about version 2 to acquire it. And I don't know if I do yet, by the way. I haven't seen anything about Kemet, and I can tell you from other games, not all second editions are better than the first. Batman from Monolith Games, I was super excited about that one because I basically heard, hey, this is Conan. I've been interested in Conan for a while. I haven't played it. I didn't even own it. Let me get Batman because it's a better Conan. And apparently it wasn't a better Conan, well, according to general opinion at least. So not all version 2s are better than versions 1. That is a relevant point here. But when it is, it doesn't mean you've earned it. It doesn't mean you've gotten free at all. You invested in version 1. If you didn't play it, that's on you. That's your decision to be made. You're an adult. We're all adults here. We all have to make decisions as consumers as to what we want. When you buy into version 1, you're getting something that those version 2 people didn't get. The game. You got the game. You had the game for a year. You had the opportunity to play this thing. The fact that you chose to buy it and leave it on your shelf is on you. That's not on the producer. That's not on the publisher. At the same time, there's another factor that has to be considered, which is you don't always have access to a version 2. The number of games, take Rising Sun from Simon Games, they came out with that, and any number of people could have said, you know what, I'll hold out for a version 2. There hasn't been a version 2 yet. So not every time that you hold out is it going to reward you. You have to make a decision as to whether you want to buy in or hold out. And there are pros and cons, and those pros and cons will vary based on the company, the game, whether the game needs updates, how often you've played the game, whether the Kickstarter company backs updates, and all these factors should inform your decisions as a consumer. But there's no obligation on the company. You bought a finished product. Yes, it is frustrating, and it is frustrating. I'm not minimizing that frustration in the slightest. It is frustrating to buy a game and feel you got punished to alpha test something. And that frustration is going to be exacerbated for a variety of reasons. It's going to be exacerbated if you haven't played the game, and it's going to be equally exacerbated if there's real problems. Like, we're not talking about, like in the case of Barbarians and Invasion, I don't know anything about the gameplay changes, but I can tell you one of the changes is improvements to the actual, like the insert of the game and whatnot. That's not a gameplay change, but if you buy into a game and there are serious gameplay issues and you have to pay for version 2 to fix it, that will be more frustrating. I will be more on your side. I still won't think it's completely your side, but I'll be more on your side in that case. Because if you buy the iPhone 2 and the iPhone 2 sucks, and then you buy, and then the iPhone 3 comes along and people can just get the iPhone 3 with no issues, now to a certain extent you have been punished because you did get that faulty item and the upgrades went to the people who didn't get it. But again, still your decision. We are not buying, and no one's forcing us to buy anything on Kickstarter or any other platform. We are making decisions to buy something with the hope that it will be good, and if it's not good, if it requires balance changes, yes, that's frustrating. So what? So what? It's frustrating, and therefore what? Therefore you get rewarded? Not rewarded, the company owes you something? And when I say earlier that the fact that there's a business on the other end, the fact that there's a business on the other end means that you have to understand that when you drive when you try to drive these changes, well, Barbarians the Invasion, they have to give me that upgrade pack for free because I've earned it. If any sort of public opinion shifted to the point that did become some sort of obligation on the company, there'd be no incentive to do so. What's the incentive to provide an upgrade pack if that's going to incur a huge expense on your company because you now have to provide it for free to everyone else? What's the incentive? If your options are, well, we can improve the gameplay and make no money, not only that, we'll actually lose money, or we could just say it's call it a day and let's produce another game instead. What would you rather? Because companies will have no incentive to improve your gaming experience if that improvement comes at a huge financial cost to themselves. Better to invest in a new IP when no one has these claims on what they owe you or don't owe you. Take Cthulhu Death May Die. Cthulhu Death May Die, one of my favorite games right now. Within the next 2 or 3 months, it will be my most played game of all time. Hours, not gameplay, but in terms of sheer gaming hours, it's soon to be my most played game of all time. Really enjoying it. When I got the game and I played the game, there's a huge problem with the game where the monsters don't fit on the tiles. They just straight up, you have these multiple tile sizes, and some of the smaller tiles, you'll have an elder god and 2 investigators and 3 cultists and 2 other monsters all crammed onto a small tile. And I remember I saw one person post, and I agree with this, there's no way this game got past playtesting with no one realizing this was an issue. It just doesn't make sense. Now, a part of the problem here that is a factor as well, by the way, is game table size is a factor. If the smaller tiles are made larger, all the tiles have to be made proportionally larger for the game to work, at which point the game table that's required to play the game is now significantly larger. So, and keep in mind, this is already a beast of a game that's hard to fit onto a smaller table. On our table, it's fine, it was great, we have a good big table. If you have a smaller table, it's already going to be hard. So this may just have been an intentional sacrifice that they made because table size is a factor in game design. So they may have said, listen, we've playtested it, obviously it doesn't fit, it is what it is, fine. Either way, not my point. After playing a few games and realizing this problem, I messaged CMON and said, hey, by the way, I don't know if you have any plans for this, but sign me up. In case you guys are ever putting out a larger tile upgrade pack, I'm happy to pay for it. And I said I'm happy to pay for it, not because I'm some kind, loving supporter of business, but because I understand that demanding free things doesn't give the company any incentive to do so. If they have enough consumers who might buy a larger tile upgrade pack, there's an incentive to produce it. If they have a bunch of consumers demanding a free upgrade pack, there's no business incentive to do so. Now, I say no business incentive, and there is obviously an exception. There's always an exception, which is sometimes you can do certain business decisions that the sheer goodwill involved will earn you back enough goodwill from consumers or whatnot that it will pay for itself. I remember there have been a few times with various Kickstarters that failed where another company came in, took it over, and then gave free pledges to all the previous people. There is an element of goodwill that is involved in here, and that can be a reasonable business decision to make. It is very reasonable to, as a company, sit there and say, you know what, we believe the potential outlay will not be that bad, and we believe that the goodwill and the publicity and everything else will pay for itself. But it is a business's job to be sustainable. And I don't mean that from a stance of you should rely on businesses to be sustainable. I mean that if you like a business, if you like any company whatsoever, you want that company to be sustainable. Because if they aren't, then what are you going to do? If CMON goes out of business, I no longer get CMON games. If Board Game Co. goes out of business, you can no longer buy or trade with us. If, I don't know, pick a company. If Chase Bank goes out of business and you like Chase Bank, you can't use them. Now, obviously, there are large degrees of gaps in these cases. In the case of, like, for instance, take Chase Bank. Chase Bank has a huge degree of profit margin. They're not at risk of going out of business anytime soon. Compare that to CMON, and CMON, I remember seeing something recently last year with them losing $8 million in the stock market or something. Like, they had an $8 million loss last year. Like, that's a company that has managed to take on a huge loss, and I'm not saying, I don't know how financially stable they are or aren't, but I want their games. And these are factors you need to consider when you are choosing whether to buy a game, whether to complain, whether to demand free things. These are all factors you need to think of, because you want the companies you like to be sustainable. I'm assuming you do, at least if you like them. If you want to continue purchasing from them, using their services, you want that. So this whole concept of an upgrade came out and I demand a free thing has to be rethought, because it won't actually lead to you getting good upgrades to your games. It won't lead to improvements, to second editions that you might want. It'll lead to dead product lines. If you actually got general audience buy-in, it'll lead to a dead product line. Rum and Bones, second edition, Second Tide. This is one of those times where I did not get the second edition. I joined the CMON bandwagon after the first edition came out, and I was lucky enough to get Second Tide, which is a drastic improvement over the first edition. I understand people who may have gotten the first edition and said, you know what, I'm not getting the second edition and I'm giving up on the game. I understand that viewpoint. It is not fun to invest money into a product and to feel that you were a beta tester for that product. It's not fun, but it is part of the decision we buy into. And additionally, you have to make like I said earlier, like these factors, they're all factors in your decisions. When I look at Kickstarter, and Kickstarter is an easier platform to make these judgment calls about, but when I look at a Kickstarter game, when I look at a Kickstarter company, I do evaluate whether that company has a track record of re-releasing Kickstarters, because it's a pro and con game on all sides. When CMON does these one and done Kickstarters, they don't get those second edition Mythic Battles 1.5 where 1 million people come in because they've heard the hype, they want the hype. But what they do gain is they gain the hype in the first run because people know they don't do these Kickstarters again, so there's more FOMO involved. There's more uncertainty of, will Bloodborne be good? I don't know, but I don't want to have to pay secondary market prices if it is good. I mean, Cthulhu Death May Die, I'm so happy I bought into, to the point that Bloodborne and Trudvang, both games that I was questioning my decision, now I'm even happier. And I'm like, CMON's still putting out good games. They're not just throwing in the towel and relying on dice and figures, but they actually put out good games. So the flip side is when I look at a company like Deep Madness, for instance. Deep Madness is a company that has a track record of putting out second games. Street Masters from Blacklist Games. They have a track record of re-releasing their Kickstarters that did well. Mythic Battles. They have a track record of re-releasing Kickstarters. If a Kickstarter has a track record of re-releasing a Kickstarter that does well, I am more hesitant about whether I should take that initial plunge. I don't see the point. I might end up being a beta tester for version 1.0, and I have a million games on my shelf that I'm not getting to the table as it is, so I don't feel the need to get that. I'd rather hold off and wait for 2.0. But again, these are all adult decisions. These are all decisions that we have to make as consumers. And again, I run Board Game Co., but yes, I also buy games. We have to make these decisions with our whatever degree of being informed we have, and then it is what it is. There is no, you owe me this, there is no, you owe me that. This is purely, we want the best games for ourselves, and to that end, we have to make the decisions that sustain the industry in the way that is going to incentivize getting the best games for ourselves. Demanding free things won't get you that. It won't. If a company decides to give you something free, great, good on them. It can be a good business move. But demanding an unsustainable solution is just going to result in dead product lines. And assuming you like the game, I don't think you want that. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on business owners, the other side of the spectrum, all that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am curious, what are your thoughts? How do you feel? Do you feel I'm completely wrong? Do I have business blinders on, preventing my ability to see things as a consumer? Do you agree, disagree? How do you feel? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'm Alex Radcliffe. This is Board Game Co. Buy, trade, sell your way to a better collection. You can visit us at boardgameco.com. You can use our trading app at boardgametraders.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly at alex@boardgameco. You can boardgameco.com. You can reach out to our business at info@boardgameco.com. You can find me on the Board Game Geek at boardgameco is our username. That's basically it. And you can like, subscribe, comment, watch another video. Hope to talk to you next time. Have a good one.